And we are back again. It's your friendly neighborhood film watchers. It's Frankly Football in the building. I am your humble host, Brandon, and I got my man, Honey Grant, with me. It's Set It Off, Chris. How you feeling today, Chris?
Feeling good, man. A little Saturday, little after party from the last preseason game, and we got to kind of formulate this 53, man. Get it out on the wire early, and see how close we come to it, and then kind of give our ins and outs and massage what we think would be the best suit for this 2022 Dallas Cowboy roster.
Absolutely. So obviously after the last preseason game against the Seahawks, we had some ups, some downs, some guys who made their way onto the roster, some guys who played their way out of it. So we can work our way through each position, right?
Okay.
And we can say, who would be at that group. I took the time to make out a full 53-man roster. My prediction.
As
If
always.
if you disagree with what
Yep.
I think, feel free to chime in at any point. Um, and we can start, at the helm, at the head, with quarterback, and I think that for sure it'll be Dak Prescott, of course, with Will Greer being his backup. I think that Cooper Rush, through practice and through the three preseason games, has taken time to move himself out of that for sure backup job that he's had for the past 2 or 3 seasons. What do you think?
Okay. I like Joker better than I do Cooper Rush, even just from the eye test of watching him play and how he handles the ball, and just like it seems like his anticipation for throwing the football is just a tick off, and it always seems like he's floating it there. Whereas Will Greer has the ability and the strength to kind of get it there, and got some wheels. Saw a couple of his highlights in the game with his footwork. So I think him fully healthy because he came back to play with a hurt groin and still ended up performing pretty well. So I like the fact that Will Greer being my backup. He's closer to my starter, and God forbid if anything happens to my starter for maybe one, maybe 2 games, I think Will Greer can pilot the ship to a win. Whereas Cooper Rush has piloted me to a win, but Minnesota did everything in their power to give that game away. So I like Will Greer a lot better. I love the decision of going with Will Greer as my backup.
Absolutely. And yeah, just like you said, we can't discount the fact that yeah, Cooper Rush has done it in the regular season, but so has Will Greer. He started in the NFL as well. So,
Gotcha.
we can't forget about that. And I think that Will Greer has done it for a longer period of time. So yeah.
Right.
Now
Mm-hmm.
going on to the next position, the running back. I think that the Cowboys intend to live and die by the running game, based upon Jerry Jones's words anyway. I believe
Mm-hmm.
in my 53-man roster prediction that they only keep 2 running backs. There may be room to keep a third guy, but for sure Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. Of course, plenty of people want to keep Malik Davis, with the thought process of, oh, you can't let a guy like that hit the street. You'll have too many people, calling his phone, etc. But I believe that we as Cowboys fans have a tendency to overrate our, low bottom roster guys.
Okay. Okay.
Um, but sometimes they will turn around and other teams won't rate them as highly. Because like I said when we had our show with Cowboys fan talk with Rome, uh, I think that every team has their Malik Davis.
Right.
Their power running back who can run in between the tackles. I don't think that Malik Davis is an albatross or anything different out that the league has never seen before.
Okay. I think I'm with you on the fact that he is um serviceable. Okay. But what I believe he does is he can be a good complement uh to Ezekiel Elliott if we need to, let's say we want to run a situation where Zeke's ran it 4 or 5 times. Uh I don't know if he makes the 46 man game day roster, but I definitely believe if we get a nick or a 4 week PCL tear, he can come in and be serviceable enough for a couple of weeks that he can work for us. I think we get the best version of Ezekiel Elliott this year, but I also believe that if he does get hurt, what we couldn't do last year, or the training staff didn't believe last year, that Corey Clement could come and spell us for 2 to 3 games. I think Malik Davis can come and spell us for 2 to 3 games, God forbid.
Okay. And I agree. I think that in a multi-back system, I think that Malik Davis could be serviceable. I just think that he
Yeah,
makes it to the practice squad. I don't think that
I
there's
think
an
he.
intense
I think
need to keep him on this team.
okay, okay. Like I said, he can. If you don't sign him, we're saying with our 53. If you don't sign him, will he not be there for the practice squad? He'll be there for the practice squad. So I don't
Yeah.
think you need him. I'm just looking at what your 46 man game day roster. You're going to have to carry another position a little bit longer than you would, and I think he'll be fine. So yeah, I agree with you. 2 running backs on the 53 is fine. So let's look at this next position, your wide
Yes.
receivers, because you went kind of long in my position, in my
Absolutely.
opinion. But go ahead.
Now, the receiver room being long is a direct result of Michael Gallup not being on pup.
Okay.
So of course you have CD Lamb, the aforementioned Michael Gallup, Simi Fehoko,
Mm-hmm.
Kevontae Turpin,
Yep.
James
James
Jalen
Washington.
Tolbert. Jalen Tolbert.
James.
No, not James Washington. I
Okay.
actually don't
Yeah.
believe that
Right.
James Washington makes this team. And
Okay.
lastly, Noah Brown, being your
Okay.
sixth receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Now, due to Michael Gallup possibly being a little bit further ahead than what we may have thought, he is not going to start the season on pup. Um,
Okay.
it's almost like we predicted it. The day after we had our show with Rome, it came out that he wasn't going to
Right.
be on
We're
pup. He
going on
was running
pup.
routes,
Right.
etc.
Right.
But that could be a double-edged sword because he's not going to be playing at least for that first game. So he's taking up a
Right.
roster spot without playing. So you can't keep five receivers because you're going to go into game day with only 4 active. So you have to go a little longer at that position in order to compensate for Michael Gallup's inactive status, at least for that first game.
Yeah, but see that's okay. This is where I got a problem with that, and you're right. Front office come out saying don't put him on pup. My thing is I would have started him on pup for 4 weeks. Um, I would have kept otherwise. What was the other guy? Wide receiver you cut though?
I cut. Well, I don't believe that
Dennis
James
Houston.
Washington makes this
Wait,
team.
no,
Dennis
not
Houston,
okay. James Washington. Right. That's my problem. See,
TJ
I
Vasher,
think
he kind of
had.
disappeared after that
Oh yeah,
spectacular
yeah, well,
catch
yeah,
in camp.
right. That's camp. But okay, so Vasher gets cut. You cut Houston, where I think you keep Houston and Fahoko. And see, if you put Noah Brown for the first 4 weeks on pup, it gives him that kind of working into conditioning for the year. But by putting him on straight on the roster, it hurts guys, or it hurts, I think, the flow of the offense, because when we go to our next position, you limit what we can do. You follow me? You limit what we can do unless we cut somebody who we kind of like. So I would have kept Houston. I'd have put Gallup on pup, and I would have ran with everyone else she had. That's one thing I disagree with you on. But that's a front office move. But if you're talking about guys who are going to make the 53, I would have just put Gallup, who hasn't ran, who we haven't seen run all camp, except for slight glimpses, and getting into receiver shape to go out and take full NFL snaps. Yeah, I would have put him on that 4-week pup. So I disagree with that. I would have put him on pup and kept Houston on and kept the other guys he had.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that pup might have been the best option for the team, but if it turns out that he's there a little early, as opposed to taking up until week 5 or 6, like if he's back in week 3, then
Listen,
it kind of is what it is.
Look at your first 5 games, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't lose. You can probably throw away your season in the first 5 games, but not first 5 games. You got Tampa, you got the Bengals, you have the Commanders, you play the Rams, and I think you play
The Giants.
The Giants. Okay, you can get if you get out the gate 3-2, 4-1. Oh, for the first one, I think you can get out the gate those first 4 games at worst 2-2. And if you come out 2-2, you're okay. You ain't gained a whole bunch of ground, but you ain't lost none, and you get your guys back healthy. That's the number one thing you gotta do. This is a marathon. It's not a sprint, and I think you get him back 100%.
Yeah.
That helps you. Your back half of the season is so chock full of winnable games that I would rather have them cruising towards being 100% healthy down the stretch than having to worry about coming out being September and October champions.
Yeah, I agree. But you don't really have that luxury at this position anyway right now. Now my next position, I think I went the average depth at it, but some people would prefer to go deeper. I'm talking about the tight end position, and I went with 3 tight ends, and I went with Dalton Schultz, of course,
Right.
and then Jake Ferguson, the 4th-round pick, and lastly, Sean McEwen, who is now a 3rd-year tight end with the Cowboys.
Right.
And I think that he earned that spot. Sean McEwen definitely earned the spot over someone like Peyton Hendershot, who may not be quite there as a blocker yet, especially with the recent troubles, with Tyron Smith being out for the year, for the better part of the year.
Hey man, go on. Hey, hold up, bro. Hold up, homeboy. We are not about to get into this world of lying to our constituents out here in the YouTube world. That dude is gone. We're gonna get some music here. We're gonna be adding some different things to the stream, and we're gonna get some music in here. We're gonna get some copywriting from Wanye and them guys, and go ahead and say, it's so hard. You already know how to do it. It's to say goodbye, man. We're gonna have to say goodbye to Tyron.
Yeah,
Tyron's
possibly.
done. Okay,
possibly.
Hey man, the bone ripped off the man, the meat ripped off the man's bone. It's over.
Yeah,
it's over.
Yeah. Okay. At least for this year, anyway. At least for this year.
Okay. Right.
But
so you go with 3 tight ends.
Yes.
Instead of keeping Hendershot, who gives you your stretch the seam capability. Because I think with the 3 guys you got, they're like the Spider-Mans. They pointing at each other. They all the same guys. I think Dalton's going to give you 8 to 9. Jake's going to be the same thing. He's going to be better next season after a full off season. And Sean McEwen is the new blocking guy, the new Jeremy Sprinkles type guy.
Yes.
And be the blocker. So I still don't have an explosive get down the seams guy. And that's what Hendershot is.
But if you're not looking to feature that guy at the position, there's no reason to
keep him.
Yeah, there's no reason to keep him. Peyton Hendershot is another situation where we may be overvaluing our bottom of the roster talent. How many teams think that they have a Peyton Hendershot on their roster? A very good catching tight end. I think that Jake Ferguson, for all of his receiving ability, he adds the additional dimension of being able to chip extremely well. He may not be able to. He may not be able to block truly in a spectacular fashion, but his chips are punishing. It's like shoulder checking someone. You may have that one person where if they got beef with somebody and they shoulder check them. They feel it in their soul. That's what. That's what Jake Ferguson provides to the team.
That's what Jake gives you.
Yeah.
Okay. So Jake, you think Jake is okay? So you think Jake is a little bit more improved, sprinkled with some yak ability, because I think he does have yak ability.
Yes, absolutely.
Get upfield and okay. All right.
And I think that through this camp, he actually provided a greater dimension in his passing ability. In his film as a prospect, he had great hands, but the ability to stretch the field, wasn't fully there on his tape. He put on some great film in camp and in the games of his ability to get downfield and and catch the ball, but his hands were always there.
Yeah,
Had very sure hands.
I think the one thing that hurts us as fans and as analysis guys, YouTubers and stuff, is that in the preseason, unless you can get that camp film, you don't really get an idea what that guy can do, because there's such a level a downgrade from Rain Dakota and the backups, especially this year, because you get to see a lot of Will Greer. You really couldn't see everything that a guy could do. I think some guys were kind of hindered by the quarterback play this year.
Absolutely.
So I'll go with that. I'll go with that. Peyton can get through waivers. You can get him to the practice squad. I think he has a spot on this team next year for sure as a third tight end. So I'll go with the 3 tight ends. So now let's go look at this offensive line. This is where we got the questions.
Much maligned after the injury to Tyron Smith. I think the injury to Tyron Smith shook up those offensive line immensely. We as fans may really not even agree with what the final landing spot may be for a lot of these guys. But as far as our tackles go, guys who are tackles at this point in time, they may not be tackles on game. Some guys who are on this offensive line may not be a tackle on game day. That some may be. Who knows? But tackles currently, I have Terrence Steele.
Currently, okay.
Terrence Steele. I have.
Hey. Let's not gloss that over. I'm not gonna let you gloss that over. See how smooth. See you smooth, B. I get that. You're so smooth, man. You're so smooth. But let's go ahead and say it outright, out loud.
Yeah.
The best tackle on this football team right now. Yes.
Ouch.
The best tackle on this football team right now is who, my
Terrence Steele.
Man.
Without a doubt, the best tackle on this team right now was Terrence Steele, and that is a scary thought. Scary thought.
I hear you, man. Terrence's ability to play right at a good level, not supreme level. I think he has the opportunity to do that this year by doing some different things. But yeah, Terrence is your right tackle. I'm with, and he is the best tackle right now. Continue on, my brother.
Next I have Avante Collins. Forgive me if I'm butchering his names, but Avante Collins.
Okay. Like him.
Yeah. Alex Alarcon. Alarcon.
Alarcon.
Yeah, and Matt Waletzko.
Right.
Josh Ball does not make this team.
Oh, without question, no.
He has played his way off of this team. In fact,
smooth off the roster. He's played himself straight into a UPS uniform.
Yeah, moonwalked his way off of the cliff.
Somewhere he done did it, but he did it on his own.
Absolutely,
we ain't had to push him. Right?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, so interior lineman.
Interior lineman, we have and once again, some of these guys who are interior linemen may end up playing tackle day one. We may not agree with it, but I have to acknowledge that the possibility is there. You understand where I'm coming from?
I'm feeling you, bro. I'm reading the tea leaves.
So Tyler Smith, Zach Martin, Connor McGovern, Tyler Biotish, and Matt Farniok.
Okay. All right, I can rock with that.
And that's 9 offensive linemen right there. In previous years, we went deeper at the position, but the level of talent just ain't there this year.
It ain't there this year. So you're going to have Farniok as your backup center, and you're going to have McGovern as your swing guard.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Let's talk about this offensive line position right now, Chris. The front office believes that the starting the starting left tackle is on the roster currently.
Hey man, listen, I'm gonna explain something to you, man. I got this saying I say to a lot of people, man, especially when I don't believe it. A lot don't care who tell it as long as it get told. It just want to get told. And so, Jerry is doing his best Jerryisms. He's up front, slinging hope, and that's all he's doing. But right now, my starting one of my tackles is not on this roster. I need to go find somebody who's disgruntled with a young, talented guy, or I can kind of do a twofold. Somebody who's disgruntled with a young, talented guy who they think can't play, right? And I can put him on this roster and then go get me a veteran guy as well. So if I had it my way, I'm gonna go get a veteran guy, and then I'm gonna go and get a young guy nobody thinks he can play. If Joe Philbin want to save his job this year, Joe Philbin got to make me believe he can coach up a guy of NFL caliber and get him to be able to play on the football field. He's taken reclamation projects for the last couple of years, and so he gets to hang his hat on the fact that Terrence Steele can play. So because he developed Terrence Steele into a serviceable right tackle,
Yes.
then he gets to walk around with that in his back pocket. I need him to do it again, and I need him to take a Leatherwood who may get cut, a couple of guys, Isaiah Wynn or somebody, and move them to the level that they can be serviceable and workable for this football team. Because I don't need to be penciled in right now to live and breathe. Hey, I got to go get a left tackle in the first round. You can go find a guy who somebody else can't coach and get him to that level. That's how you save your job. If not, I'm gonna take your assistant. I'm gonna find somebody else to work with this offensive line, because I've got too many workable pieces right now that I can put a good offensive line on the field. If the Cincinnati Bengals can put that ass offensive line on the field last year and get to the Super Bowl, God dang it, why can't Joe Philbin do it? Huh? Joe Philbin got 2 first rounders. He got a bona fide Hall of Famer. He got a Remington Award winner, and he got a guy that's a reclamation project who's turning his 3rd year, about to get paid. You can't tell me you can't go somewhere and find me a tackle that can be able to help save my quarterback and save my daggum season.
Absolutely.
So he want to keep his job this year. I need him to bring him a left tackle, even Eric Fisher to help him, or bring another guy that somebody ain't enchanted with right now. Bring him on and make him a serviceable swing, because Matt Walesko is trying to tough it out for the team by not getting his shoulder worked on. He really should be going to get his shoulder worked on so he can be ready to go next year and fight for that swing tackle position.
Now, I'm in agreement with you 100%. Ideally, Alex Alarcon would be, a guy who would go back onto the international program for a 4th year. That would be his final year of eligibility. And then you would, fill that position with a guy to be named later, to start at left tackle.
Right.
But based on, the way that the droplets are falling in the water, does not seem like that would happen. We can only work with the realities of the situation. You understand where I'm coming from?
I'm feeling.
So there's what we believe would happen, what we think would be the right choice, and what is reality at this point in time. And reality seems to be that it seems like Tyler Smith is going to be your starting left tackle, September 11th against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, even though he allegedly wasn't good enough to win the left guard job, and hasn't had a start at left tackle.
Left tackle since it's Tulsa. Since Tulsa. Yeah. See, you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Stop the cap, man. Yes, that's the part for us that's so hard. But you're right. Right now, as we live and breathe, that's your offense.
Yes.
So let's switch over to this defense. What are we looking at like on this defense?
Okay, so I'm gonna work from the front back. Now, on the defensive ends, your edges, you have DeMarcus Lawrence and Sam Williams. Right. I think that those two should be your 2 starting edges, by the way. I think that Sam Williams' twitchiness, his combination of power and speed, and his aggressiveness his aggressiveness to get after the quarterback. That's something that you need on the opposite side of tank, to push a quarterback up into the pocket, to hopefully right into those tackles' hands. So continuing on, Dorrance Armstrong, Dante Fowler,
Mm-hmm.
Terrell Basham, and this
Mm-hmm.
guy's kind of like a flexible guy, but Chauncey Golston. Chauncey
Okay.
can go, in
Yeah.
and
Okay.
on the edge.
We got a couple guys like that on the defense. So that's
Yes,
gonna give us some flexibility. Okay.
yes, absolutely.
All right.
Now, if you may notice that I didn't name, one of our vets. I didn't name what's his name? The other vet alongside Carlos Watkins. There we go. I didn't name
Yeah.
Carlos
But
Watkins.
Carlos is an interior guy, so all your
Yeah,
ends are who your ends are.
yeah.
So I'm fine with that with your ends. I think the reason why you're thinking about Carlos because we had a hard time between you and I going through these 12. Who
Mm-hmm.
would we let go? Who would we keep?
Mm-hmm.
So for your interior guys, you got Osa Digizua, Neville Gallimore, Quentin Bohanna, my boy Tristan Hill, right?
Yeah.
And you got John Ridgeway. You
Yes,
got
sir.
John Ridgeway in the inside, right? Those are
Yeah.
your five on the inside. So now you got those five. So you end up letting Carlos Watkins go
Yes.
for keeping it to keep one of these defensive ends who you love. But in
Mm-hmm.
the meantime, you kept Ridgeway, who is a piece that you can let go if you want to bring on another tackle,
Yes.
which you should if you don't
Yep.
let one go. So everything's kind of fluid. But as you're looking right now, you got Ridgeway on the roster. But Ridgeway can be moved to the practice squad because I don't think anybody has his size, but I
No.
think people have people of his talent
Absolutely.
as of right now. So
Absolutely.
I think he can definitely be a practice squad guy, and we can bring in another running back, bring in another tight end, definitely bring in another offensive lineman. God forbid. So I love what you're doing, and also what gives us the ability with Chauncey Golston to also move down inside. Chauncey
Absolutely.
has that flexibility. He's your new Tyrone Crawford.
Yes.
He's your new Tyrone Crawford,
And I
right?
think that that's the coaching staff's ideal for him, to
Yes.
have the flexibility to move inside, and also play on the edge if needed. They want him to be the guy who can move all across the line and play anywhere that they want him to. Now, you mentioned John Ridgeway. Ridgeway is going to be one of those guys who hasn't really done himself any favors. Of course, he had a great play this past game. Against Seattle. But
Right.
outside of that, it's been, pretty forgettable.
But
Now,
I think he also got outplayed. I just think
yes,
guys came back this year, understanding what they're doing inside the system, knowing what they were asked to do, and being able to perform. You know what I'm realizing that transition, especially with dealing with college, with from the last time you play to the 5 6 months you get ready to go to your first job is huge.
absolutely.
Even if you're playing the national championship, okay, say you end in February, March, April, May, March and April, 60 days, and you going to places, visiting places, and then once you start getting into the mindset, okay, I'm going to this place to work out. But the guys who've been there fighting for child support, car payments, and mortgages, been working since January,
Yes.
and they ain't about to turn up. I don't care who you are. Oh yeah, come on, come take my job. So I think that year is going to really help him, especially just being inside the building and maybe having an opportunity to be on the practice squad will help him out immensely.
Yes, I believe that he, in an ideal situation, he would be, one of those guys that would be a target for a practice squad.
Yeah.
Especially if you're looking to bring in another offensive line.
Right. Right.
Moving back to the next level of the defense, the linebacker room, it had very minimal room for addition.
Yes.
I've only
Yes.
got
Yes.
five guys. And of course you got Michael Parsons,
Come
the
on,
rock
man.
of the
Hey,
defense,
man.
rock of the defense. But then you've
Yeah.
got Jabril Cox,
Yes.
who's been wonderful in coverage on his return from injury. Leighton Vander Esch, LV. And then you've got Anthony Barr, who adds his flexibility, and
Mm-hmm.
then you've got Harper. Now people may ask, why the choice between Devin Harper and someone like Story Jackson. I think
Yeah.
it comes down to what have you done for me lately? Recency bias.
Mm.
I think that
Okay.
Devin Harper had a wonderful game against Seattle, and when coaches look at what has been right in their face within the past few days, they're going to see, Devin Harper kind of jumping off of the film against Seattle. And I think
Okay.
that gives him a little bit of an edge versus, someone who is admittedly bigger than him, physically. And Story Jackson. Story has like 2 or 3 inches on him.
Okay.
But thankfully, we don't have Luke Gifford on this team in this situation. I
I
think that
mean,
we
that was what
have
every yeah. That's your move every year. You're trying to kick a guy off the year before was Francis Bernard. You had to get
yeah.
somebody better than Francis Bernard.
Yes.
You got him off
Yes.
here. And now you got Malik. Now you got now you've got Luke Gifford on.
Yeah.
What about Malik Jackson? What about was it Malik Jefferson? Was that Malik
Malik
Jefferson one of the
Jefferson.
guys?
Malik
Yeah,
Jefferson.
you didn't like him over storage. You didn't like him over my man here. I thought he was a little bit better. I thought what you think?
So what made me push a little bit towards the two rookies is coaches are going to go toward guys who they brought in. Even though they weren't drafted in that particular case,
Mm-hmm.
whether they're drafted or undrafted, coaches are
Mm-hmm.
going to be inclined toward guys who they brought in. Malik
Okay.
Jefferson, he's like a 5-year vet in this league. Um,
Okay.
Malik Jefferson, excuse me.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like a 5-year vet in this league. So he already doesn't have that again in his favor. And once again, Devin Harper's a guy who's been, fairly active in camp, fairly active in the last game. So I think that gives him an edge.
Young
And
man
he
league.
claimed,
Young
yeah,
man league.
absolutely. So he
Got it.
claims that fifth spot. In the
Okay.
linebacker room, in my opinion, I think that it
Okay.
could go either way in that fifth spot.
Cool.
And I think as long as as long as it isn't Luke Gifford, I think that we're okay.
Okay. I got you. Okay. All right. So you're going with that. Now, if you go with your cornerback room, now you got your linebackers.
Yes.
I like everybody you got in your linebackers. I'm fine with that. Now, your cornerback room, you still here's another chance where flexibility could hurt a guy making this team. So you got Trayvon Diggs, which is our question.
Yes.
Get down Anthony Brown, no
Mm-hmm.
problem. Lewis, Jay Lou, who's a stalwart, but you know what he brings to the table.
Yes.
We got our dude. We got my dude that I love. I love Kelvin Joseph, but Kelvin has flashes potential. But the guy who's really played his way onto his roster is Deron Bland. And
Yes.
Deron Bland is the guy who's kicking people off the boat, and he's slinging Nahshon right off the boat.
Mm.
Nahshon Wright's got to go, and the reason being is that you're not a third rounder. You're a third rounder. You're not the second
Yes.
rounder, and that's
Yes,
the only
sir.
reason why it's even notable. But yeah, if he can come back to the practice squad, we can maybe bring him back to practice squad because I think going back even further in the secondary, the flexibility of Israel Mukwamu makes it to the point you can get rid of Nahshon Wright and it not
Absolutely.
be that big of a deal.
Very,
Because with
very
your
understandable.
safeties, and with your safeties, you've got Javon Curse, you've got Malik Hooker, you've got Wilson, you got
Yes.
my man Wilson, you've got my HBCU standout Marquise Bell, and
Yes,
then you
sir.
got Israel Mukwamu. And I
Yes.
think you've got everybody. They have Donovan Wilson. I didn't mean to short him. Donovan Wilson. I think you have everything you need in your secondary. So if you have that in your secondary, you bring another guy, put another guy on this football team that I want on this football team, and that's the fight between either Malik Davis or Peyton Henry on my offense. Because I think I can move Alacon to the international squad if I decided to bring a tackle back. But offensively, because I need so much help offensively, I need either a Hendershot or Malik Davis. God forbid something happens in those two positions where my tight ends and my running back are going to be so vital for me winning football games this year. What you think, bro?
So in my initial, estimation, I did have Nahshon Wright making this team. I had 6 corners
Okay.
and 5 safeties, right? I think that Israel Mukwamu
Okay.
throughout his last 2 games, and honestly, a lot of the practices, and Chris just dropped off. We'll wait for him to get back in. But throughout those last few games, I think that Izzy Mukwamu made his way onto this roster. His games have been wonderful. He's done a great job of taking the ball away, on top of his ability to move down and be that nickel corner if needed. So yes, that does create a bit of a redundancy when it comes to a guy like Nahshon Wright, who in a lot of ways has given up drives, in a lot of ways who has cost some plays. So you would hope that he would be like a guy like a Richard Seymour, a big corner who you would have to beat below him instead of above him.
You mean Richard Sherman?
Richard Sherman. Yes, I said Richard Seymour. Apologies. He would be like Richard Sherman, where you would have to beat above him. I mean, pardon me, below him instead of above him. But Nahshon Wright has been getting beat above him, with when that shouldn't be happening with someone of his height. So those are things that due to genetics, because you can't coach that, that may be one of those things that could cost him his spot on the roster. So yes, I could see them going, shorter at the corner position and only keeping 5 corners as opposed to what I initially estimated at 6, due to Izzy's good play and Nahshon's bad play. Now, I want to talk about Kelvin Joseph. Kelvin Joseph has played himself a little bit down in this position. And Deron Bland has played himself a little bit up in his position. If Kelvin Joseph weren't a second round pick, he could possibly have cost himself his job. But because of his draft position, the rope is going to be a little bit longer for Kelvin Joseph. And Deron Bland may have played himself into, and pardon me, practiced and played himself into in some cases, a starting job if teams decide to stretch the field a little bit. Deron Bland may be one of those guys to get an initial look rather than Kelvin Joseph, because of his stellar play in joint practices and in preseason games. He's been nothing short of amazing, and I think that is definitely a blessing, because we were depending on Kelvin Joseph to fill a role that he didn't fill the shoes of. Now, if we look at guys like Marquise Bell, I think that we should. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
Okay. If we look at a guy like Marquise Bell and his ability to move down, I think that he was drafted. Well, pardon me, he wasn't drafted. He was looked at as his ability to play, that hybrid linebacker kind of role, but then he was brought onto the team for his ability to play safety. He fills those two roles in a similar fashion to, some other guys who can move down or around on the defense as well. We covered that flexibility on this defense. So that is going to be one of his saving graces on this team as well. On top of just his good play in recent games. So we've got the secondary kind of filled out. Nahshon Wright might be one of those guys who doesn't make the cut. I acknowledge that. And it's only due to his own faults. Now your special teams guys. Obviously you've got 3 guys, of course, but then I've got one addition, one guy who is a stalwart on the special teams. Of course you've got Anger, Brian Anger, is that his first name? Brett Maher, Brett the Threat, Jake McQuaid, of course, your long snapper. And I think that CJ Goodwin makes this team again. I think that you have to consistently throw your special teams coach a bone. And CJ Goodwin is that bone consistently. That bone still has meat on it, so you're not going to throw it away just yet. And there are plenty of other guys like Nahshon Wright, like John Ridgeway, who would probably lose their job and open up another spot on this 53-man roster before CJ Goodwin, because CJ Goodwin does his job well. So that his job is saved because of that, because there are other guys who are bad, and I hate to say bad, but other guys
Mm.
who don't do their job in a stellar fashion like he does.
I hear you, and I love the fact you want to save CJ's job. I'm just saying it right now. I don't think CJ's job can be saved. I think because you have these needs in the running back room, in the tight end room, and in the offensive line room above all, CJ's job is lost because I can play a Kelvin Joseph if he's not going to give me 25 defensive snaps as a cornerback, which I wanted him to, but I know he can play all my special teams and be stellar.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Izzy McQuamu, he can come and be because I can oscillate between my safeties.
Yes.
Donovan Wilson makes the team. I don't think Donovan Wilson can make the 46 man game day roster every week.
I also agree.
So I can use I can use Israel as a gunner. So I know we want to Bones once he needs his guys. I think he's getting his guy because he's getting to bring Brett Maher back, but I don't think he's belonging. But he's gonna have to sacrifice one of his guys on the table of of team building. And I think CJ Woodward doesn't make this football team, which I know his auntie personally, but I don't think he makes the team this year.
It's possible. It is very possible. And I acknowledge that he is another one of those guys who, it's kind of like a flip of the coin. We'll see. It's between CJ and Neshawn. Those are the two guys who we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
Absolutely. But I think that every other position, I think, for the most part, we have it kind of set. Now we mentioned the third running back.
Mm-hmm.
Malik Davis is with the possibility of taking someone's job. That could be a situation where Nahshon Wright may get the short end of the stick. Like you mentioned, Peyton Hendershot. That could be a situation where CJ Goodwin can get he may get to work and his car may not work. So
right.
we can definitely see plenty of situations where I can count at least two where these guys may fall off of the bubble.
Yeah.
And you also have to account for the practice squad. We as Cowboy fans do have a tendency to overvalue our young talent.
We do
while
it
they may be good,
right?
We may be good. We have to, think that the 31 other teams think that their guys are just as good, and they want to protect them as well.
The days of bringing a Miles Austin, cats like that at the end of the roster, man, and just bringing them up, it's kind of been a trademark of this franchise. You bring a Miles Austin, you bring my man who you bring a Sam Hurd. You got guys like that you say, oh hey, he's the guy, we brought him along. You look at Cedric Wilson, but Cedric Wilson you drafted. He got hurt. He had time to develop. The problem is that because it's a win now kind of system and a win now league, guys have got to produce when they get the opportunity. So Malik Davis, if you're putting the pass across somebody, get him. I can find another Malik Davis in the draft next year.
Yes.
Peyton Hendershot, I can catch it. I can find me another pass catching tight end who doesn't like to block. So we love them because they're ours, but we can't coddle them because they're not ready to play, and we got to win now. So man, I love the 53 you put out, man. And there's going to be some ebbs and flows. There's some guys that's going to get put out the pasture, man. And there's some guys that's going to make this team. We're like, how the heck he did it, but he's still here. But, man, that's our 53, bro. Anything you want to add to this or no, man?
I think that, of course, there are a couple of guys. Well, I can only count one, possibly two positions where they need to bring in outside help. But if we're strictly talking about this room, who's in this building right now, yeah, I think it's pretty, pretty fair to say, I think we got a good thing going right there.
Okay. Well, I mean, this is the 53 we're gonna dance with, man.
That's right.
Um, wasn't ideal. We definitely wanted going into free agency and into the draft. We wanted some different guys, but this is the 53 with the medium branded thing is the best fit for our 2022 Dallas Cowboys. But yo, man, here's the best part about this. You can take a look at our list and you go in the comment section and tell us, man, I don't know. But if you go into the comment section, before you go there, hit the like button. You know what I'm saying? Gets the thumbs up. It don't cost you nothing. Don't cost you a single solitary thing. You know,
Free.
that's our internet currency outside in the world. And if you go ahead and like it, then you can maybe share it to some of your friends, some of your buddies. And man, what, you think these guys got it or they don't got it? We love that. But do that for us as well, man. As always, man, we are growing. We're trying to become better. We're trying to be able to expand what we do here on Franklin Football for our enjoyment, but more importantly, for your enjoyment. So, man, as always, man, I am the sidekick. I am the author. I'm the Alfred Pennyworth to his Batman. You know what I'm saying? I'm the guy that's just coming in and making sure I open up the door and make sure the soup is hot and ready, man. And this is my main guy, man. This is my BH, man. And we together, as always, are Frankly Football. And until next time we get together, y'all, peace.